hold on. So I hit the go live button early. So yeah, that's fun. I swear to God, I can't make this up.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, hello. Um, yeah, I would end the stream, but then I'd have to recreate the entire thing.
Mhm.
And so this is just the fun part of live. And yeah, I did it so that I could connect Instagram. I meant to hit the Instagram icon, which is right next to it.
Uh,
But the good news is that on Facebook, it's not the audience isn't there yet, so they
oh,
can't see
okay.
any of it. Um, and we can edit this out of YouTube. Um,
All
or
good. I mean, that's life. This is welcome everybody to our live. This is me
yeah,
and Tanisha
like
literally in real life.
so I'm like I cannot make this shit up. Just it's always something. And so I am going to at least finish getting things set up,
Yeah.
and we're gonna keep chatting it up until
I mean,
we're ready
hey.
to talk about like the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, that is absolutely hilarious. It's surprising that I've not done it more. But yeah,
I
so
mean, that those things are made to happen anyways. Like, I think like people are so caught up in like perfection of like, oh, I remember back in the day in the business when I used to like support like coaches and their webinars or live streams, they would send like this lengthy email to the participant and be like, okay, get this set up. Here's like the script. Here's the question I'm going to ask you. Make sure audio is good, video is good, which I totally can appreciate quality. But at the same time, they make it so stressful more than it should be, right? It should be fun. So it is a conversation. It doesn't have to be
yeah.
so scriptive.
Well, I intentionally, if you notice, I only really sent you the thing about if you want to stream this to your audience, because I don't want it to feel scripted ever.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't want it to consistently be like just straight bedlam and chaos, but
Mm-hmm.
a balance in between. For example, because I didn't intend to hit the button 6 minutes early, I need to like let the kid know that the stove is on in the other room, and I need her to like finish it off. So
If people want to see the real behind the scenes or be a fly on the wall, this is it,
yeah.
right?
So I'm like, so yeah, if you see me run off the camera, it's because she didn't look at her phone and the house is about to burn down. So
Don't you have a little fire alarm going on if it smells like smoke?
yes, but I prefer that not make it into the live. Let's not that. Let's have some level of composure here, because So let's see. So we're live-ish on a few places, and it's fine. For those that are joining us, I hit the button too early. I jumped the gun a bit.
Hey, look, I was trying to connect to my channel too, and I usually just connect with people on Instagram. So even I was like trying to figure out like directions. So like, how do I add this so that it can stream live on my side of things? I think I did it right. We'll see.
And I still messed it up today. So the difference of I'm gonna have to message Restream and be like, look, I need you to put the button away from
the other button, the main button,
because it could go left or right or in the middle.
Yeah.
And yep, she's still not looked at her phone. So yeah, hold on just a second, please. I'm gonna mute myself.
There you go. So happy entrepreneur life.
She's in the bathroom, of course. Yeah.
You want to run off?
Yeah.
I'm okay to sit here and look pretty for everybody.
Talk to you.
I could definitely talk to people if I could see who's jumping on live. Let's see if on my Instagram anyone is showing up there. Yeah, so today what I'm going to be talking with Tanisha is strategies for like just time management for busy entrepreneurs. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to post it in the comment section. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I could see myself live. So hello, if you're jumping on, Tanisha will be right back. And if you guys have any questions with regards to time management, would love to answer it towards the end or in the middle of the conversation. So lots of goodies that we'll be talking about.
I'm back.
Yay! I'm like,
well, you ever hear about that person that hosted a live and ran off to go turn the stove off so our house didn't burn down in the middle? She is I. All right, so we are live.
Yeah, so the topic we're discussing was mastering time management for busy entrepreneurs. So
the timing of that being the topic, given our current state of affairs, is to me. I am at least making sure that Facebook can see us. They can now. So, fun thing for anybody just joined in. Those of you who caught us super early got to see all the antics. The good news is we're absolutely on time for our 1 p.m. Eastern live. But I hit the button too early. It's okay. I'm glad if anybody was going to be the guest, it is Rachel, because she can absolutely kind of hang in there with me and not be like, what the hell did I sign up for? So with that, we are live. My name is Tanisha Stalnaker of SVS, and this is Entrepreneurs Unplugged, episode 21, which now that I say it out loud is pretty cool because this was absolutely just an idea. And it was me trying to put myself out there more. Now that comes with its own quirks, as we can see. But the goal is not perfection. It is just for people to see the real version of me and my guests in our real lives, running our businesses, and whatever crazy is going on that day. So for me today, it's the dog behind me that may snore or not snore while we're on this call. The stove was on. It's just, like I said, chaos over here. But we're good. And so we are going to get started. But I do want, Rachel, did you introduce yourself or did you just kind of wing it when I went out?
I just winged it. I talked about what we were going to talk about today. And I just had let people know that if they did have any questions, to post it in the comments or wherever the box is. And then I was checking on my Instagram if I could actually see it on that side too. So we're good.
All right. So we do have somebody in with us. So we are going to talk about time management strategies for busy entrepreneurs. And like I said, I think it is absolutely life-lifing hilarious that today I was literally like, just so in full disclosure, I took this 10 minutes that I had and I was like, I'm going to cook lunch because that totally made sense to do in 10 minutes. And then I was like, let me at least open the room in case you join on. And then I'll go back. And then I hit the wrong button and we went on live 10 minutes early with the stove on. So clearly I am not your go-to person for time management. I do systems and automation for a reason. So, and I haven't figured out how to get a system or automation to cook lunch for my kids. So that being said, hello, I see LinkedIn user. I need this. I'm sure you mean time management strategies and not me trying to squeeze in cooking lunch on a hot stove in 8 minutes or less. So Rachel, please introduce yourself.
Yes.
To who we're talking to today.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Rachel Everington. So I am the CEO and founder of the Executive Ninja. So we are a executive assistance and operations support agency, and we support any companies, founders, executives with their day-to-day needs, right? So whether that be very like administrative, personal needs, and then also with some of their operations. So, they may be an executive in the company with, different employees or other support people in their department, but they always still need a right hand that they can be glued to. So that's who we support. And basically saving them time. People don't realize or see the ROI of time, but once they start working with the ninjas, is what I call my team, they get it. They get it.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, first off, thank you for joining me today, especially because this is the last episode of this season. And we're going to take a break over the summer and then come back in the fall. So thank you so much, like I said, for joining us. And thank you for having a great sense of humor like I already knew you had. For those that don't know, Rachel and I have known each other now and this dog is doing the most back here. I don't know if you guys can hear him. Hopefully you can't, but he's making himself comfortable by scratching up my wall behind me. But Rachel and I met, 3 years ago?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's hard to believe it's been 3 years, but yeah, I think it's been 3 years.
Rachel was actually my cohort coach in a program that I was in for a year. And so during that time, of course, I got to know her very well and vice versa. And we have kept in touch and motivated one another and chased one another and checked in with one another, even all these years after the program. So thank you again so much for being here. So you picked time management strategies for busy entrepreneurs. I'm curious why that topic.
I am very passionate about it. I am not called a ninja for no reason. Unlike Tanisha, she handles systems and automations, and that's something I kind of dabble in, but it's not my zone of genius. It's definitely very like administrative, operational, and time management. It's, again, our goal is always to save someone's time, because everyone is always busy, especially entrepreneurs, right? We're juggling. I know that in the online space, especially, people will be like, well, you need to separate business and life and time block, and that does not exist. I apologize for my words, I call bullshit on that. Like, they do bleed, they integrate with each other. So I'm constantly, my whole day is mixed in with personal things and business. I have a team meeting, but then I'm going to be cooking lunch for the kid. And then I have to jump onto another virtual coffee chat. And then I'm running to the grocery store. So it's blended that way. That may seem chaotic to a lot of people, but I think like time management really works when you also know how to manage your energy as well, right? So, and understanding what your energy and your energy type. So I don't know, Tanisha, if you and I have ever talked about it, but like so into human design. And so I've really learned a lot of things about myself on that. And so when I've learned how I work as a person, as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, then I understand where my energy, where I can prioritize things, and where I need help with, right? So I chose that topic because I feel like a lot of people need it. Yeah. And it's not just entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur that has team members as well, it's a good thing for you as an entrepreneur / leader to be able to support them in being able to manage that time. Because if your team goes haywire, then it will bleed onto your side of things as well, right? And then onto your clients too. So I'm very passionate about it, and not that I'm perfect with it. I don't think you can ever reach perfection when it comes to time management, because there's always going to be a different season, a different way of life that things need to pivot, change around, maybe something like a growth change in your personal life. And so now you have to shift everything around, all the schedules, all your family members' schedules. So definitely it's an ongoing thing. And I think if people understand like how they can really like manage their time and energy that suits them and those people around them, whether they work with them or it's their personal life, then it becomes a little bit easier to manage and get there, right?
So in full disclosure, this time of year is probably where I'm most likely to go a little off the rails when it comes to time management. And that is and I was just talking to somebody earlier, I talked to my team earlier, I talked to my CFO, and I was like, it is my ultimate goal, aside from financial goals and things like that. One of my biggest goals is to make it to where I am not in my business so much during this time of year, because year after year, it has proven that I'm more likely to forget things, drop the ball. It doesn't mean that people aren't taken care of, but it's more my energy is depleted more this time of year because life shifts more personally this time of year, between commitments for, my daughter who swims now on 2 teams this time of year instead of just 1. So like this week, she literally is going to be in a swim meet Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Thursday. And then and she practices at the crack of dawn in the morning, all of these things. And so that commitment is so important. But then we also have her birthday, my husband's birthday, my birthday's at the beginning of the summer. And so then we have people traveling. We host friends this summer, every summer that do different things. So it's so much going on that I openly acknowledge I used to try to make it fit. And I was like, it's not realistic. And so I change my availability of when I can talk to people. I change my availability of the days that I even work, and understand that could mean that I might not sign as many clients during this time of year, but that has to be okay, because I'd rather not take on as many, but still offer really good support and make sure that my team is taken care of, versus try to still crank it out like I would the whole rest of the year in spring, fall, and winter, and then drop the ball and lose a client in a bad way,
And I love hearing that from you, because the number one thing is like someone to actually recognize that and acknowledge it and then speak it. Like, I'm sure you've had already those discussions with your team and made a plan, right? So like that is where people like just fall short. Like they'll just be, I guess, delusional and be like, no, I can handle all the things. I can juggle it. And then they'll be hard on themselves too, to think like, oh, I didn't juggle it, so I failed. I failed as a mom. I failed as an entrepreneur. And that is definitely not the case. And everyone's going to be different. Everyone's energy is going to be different. And I think people just, again, need to be honest with themselves. And that's going to make you happier, not just you, but your family as well. And not driving your team crazy if you do have a team, and your clients, right? So yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that you said that.
Question.
Yes.
When it comes to time management for you and potentially for your client, like if you tell me time management, I'm thinking that I need to either automate more things or put together some lists, because I am a to-do list type of person.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell that when I don't use lists, things go even more haywire. So I guess for you, what do you find to be the most effective ways for you to kind of keep it all together?
For me specifically is definitely to-do list. I'm definitely a brain dumper, and also the support of my team. So I do have a team. I have a EA and an operations manager, and depending the type of thing that needs to, where like I know, like I have to be honest with myself too, with my to-do list of like, what can I actually delegate?
Yeah.
And sometimes I still catch myself. I always tell my team and clients, I am my client. So I totally understand my clients' like pain points. And I think that's what makes us like really great. Like having to work with support providers like you and myself, we get both worlds. We get our team because we understand what they're going through as support providers. And then we also get our clients because again, we're CEOs, we're executives, just like our clients are, right? But for me, what has worked personally is, leveraging the support of my team. So, and I have honest conversations with my team. And I said, like, you guys, like, if it's a stressful week, I'm like, I am stressed out. I'm disappointed. This happened and I need help. And, like, how can we do better? How can you guys support me? Because now I'm like stuck. Like, I'm honest with myself and I'm honest with my team. As far as my to-do list, people love to-do lists. But the whole thing is like, what are you going to do with a to-do list when you're done with like writing the to-do list? It just sits there for the most part. And then it gets added on and it never gets touched. And so again, you need to either use the, what is it called? The Eisenhower matrix, I think it's called, and understand what are the priorities. Is it urgent? Is it important? Is it like more like, oh, this is not time sensitive, I could put it in the back burner and probably do it 3 months from now and it won't affect anybody or anything.
Yeah.
And then again, leveraging, like I said, the support of my team and saying like, hey, look at my list and review what you can take off my plate, and whatever's left over, I'll just do then, right? And if I still don't have time to do it or don't know how to do it, again, my operations manager will help me find that person to help with that type of things, if it's not her or my EA. So, but as far as people, again, that's me personally, but as far as like other people, like I said, everyone's going to be different. The way you think, the way you do things, your energy. So really, and I hate to say this because it's so broad, is like trial and error, right? If people are telling you to do a to-do list and you're saying, oh, Rachel, I like what you do. Okay, great. Do what I've tried and what has worked for me. If it doesn't work for you, you're not broken. You haven't failed. Then try something else, right? So until you know what actually works for you. So, yeah.
So this topic has come up a few times, and one of the guests had recommended a platform or a tool that she uses.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, for me, it hit my brain twice, because it was like, all right, well, maybe you could save me from me. But then also it's like, it's a new system. And if it's great, then I can recommend it to clients and I can integrate it and I can play with it and do all those things. So I tried it for maybe 2 weeks and it overwhelmed me so much, because it was almost trying to, and I think that, and I'll be honest, I didn't care enough to give the platform feedback, but essentially what it was is that it asked you, like, how long would you like to eat lunch during the day? And how long would you like to spend doing this? And how many hours do you think you need this? And how many meetings do you think you'd have before you needed a break? And so it asked you these intake questions. Yeah. And then it kind of created a schedule and put it on the calendar. My calendar is already color coded as is, so I know where I am. So it literally just latched on top of my calendar. not factoring in, I might already have some things in the place right then. So now it's like, no, now's your time to eat lunch. I was like, well, wait a minute, I got a meeting though, and that meeting was here before I even knew this software existed. And so I was trying to fit it, and I tried to shift, and it was like, okay, this isn't how my brain works.
Yeah.
And it was sad because I'm like, I love learning new tools, but this one ain't it. And so, you know, I too have done the trial and error thing. I have, you know, people keep buying me notepads and planners, and sometimes I'll go through phases where that is where everything is. But then a lot of times I can't read my own writing, so then that doesn't work either. And so I've started to play with reminders on my phone, like just talking it out.
Yes.
Like saying, hey, you know, AI, who shall not be named because she'll join this conversation. But like, hey, remind me to do this at this time. Remind me to take care of this. And it has helped. The biggest thing is remembering to use it. But, you know, trying to figure out that trial and error is absolutely important. It can be extremely frustrating. And I think we need to understand going in.
Yeah.
We need to allow for a little bit of that, because what works for me is definitely not going to work for everybody. And the same thing for you, because not only is it because of how our brains work, but just our households in real life.
Yes.
You know, the person who doesn't have a child or husband or an active kid in the house, and they might be single, is probably going to be able to use platforms. Time blocking might work great for that person. You know,
totally. Yep.
It was absolutely kryptonite for me. I was like, this is
I know.
You know.
And then to even work with that, I think when people talk about time management or time management tools or what has worked for them, they don't provide context, or they don't provide how they use the tool. Because you and I could use, I think do you still use ClickUp?
Yep.
Yeah, so I still use ClickUp, but I bet you anything, if we were to look at your ClickUp setup and my ClickUp setup, they're two different things, right? Yeah. But they're still the same system as how we use it with our team, with our company, but for ourselves. And so one thing for me, I have used the voice thing on my phone, the reminders. And so for me, how I trigger that is if I know I'm in focus mode and I know I have an upcoming meeting in the next 30 minutes because I could get lost, I will tell it to ping me 5 minutes before that meeting starts. So that's how I use the voice thing on my phone. Okay. For my EA, I will also brain dump her to remind me on things. Sometimes it feels really good to like brain dump it on a human, to be honest. And also because I know she's the person that could help me. Like when people look at tasks, they think it's just like a little micro thing, but like that task has other things that like involve in it, right? So I tell her to remind me on the thing, because I still need to provide her more context, or I have to give her permissions on something or a login. So that's how I brain dump to a human, because it's not just a task. She needs other things from me to do it, right?
The other plus that I will say, and admittedly, I don't do this as much as you probably do. So I'm gonna say this, but I'm also gonna preface it that I don't follow it. But I think that the plus to brain dumping with a human is that they are going to see it in a different perspective, to also bring up things that you might not have thought of yet.
Yep.
At least when clients brain dump to me, so I'm that person that I am amazing at helping somebody else clean up their own stuff while my backyard's on fire. I'm that person. So I'll be the first to say that up front. At some point, I'm going to find a me for me. Hasn't happened yet. But until then, I am that type of person that you could brain dump to me and you think it's these 10 things, but it's really 16 things, because you didn't factor in that by doing that. It's almost like when you say, I need to do laundry, and people think, I'll just throw the clothes in the wash machine. Well, no, you also got to factor in, you got to dry the clothes, fold the clothes, and put them away. And, you know, so it's not just, it's going to take me 2 minutes to put them in. It's going to take that time that when that first alert goes off, now I got to move it from this place to this. And there's more of a process, you know, or me thinking that I could squeeze in lunch, you know, and that's 7 or 8 minutes, not factoring in it actually took longer to cook because the oven needed to heat up, or the stuff, you know, all of those things. So having a human does give you that aspect of a different perspective. Also, if the human really knows you well, they could be that person that saves you from you.
Yes. Yep.
You know, where why are you even thinking about this? You forgot that we got this over here. This isn't even a priority for anybody to worry about right now. Have a seat. You know, it'll get taken care of.
Yes, what we're all guilty of is busy work. Okay, so yeah, definitely having a support system, support team that can, definitely see your flaws and remind you of like, nah, you're totally procrastinating because you're doing busy work instead of doing the thing that you're actually supposed to be doing, right?
Oh, yeah.
But one thing I will say this that you could, anyone who is listening to this, is that something that has helped me really kind of, I guess, kick off my time management like skills is look at your Google Calendar and have a separate calendar that says ideal schedule. And then plug in away your fantasy schedule. How would it look like? Okay, before any of your clients or your team can get a hold of you, maybe 10 and earlier, you're blocking it off and saying, this is life. Me having coffee, spend time with family, eating breakfast, take a shower, and then say, ending my day, I ideally would want to end at 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so I'm going to block anything from 3 p.m. onwards. I want CEO days and Fridays off. Block that out. Okay, maybe Wednesdays would be my marketing days. Again, theme days, not drilling down on specific marketing initiatives or tasks or projects as just marketing day. You can like drill down later on. So when you have a high level of like, okay, would be my most ideal week. And then from there, understand what out of those blocks can you apply now. So for me, it was super important to just my start day and my end day. So I applied that to my actual calendar and I would basically test it, run it, right? And if it worked well, it stays on the calendar. If it didn't, okay, what can I move or what do I need to do to make this happen, that I do start at this time and end at this time? And then, okay, say everything is perfect, great. Now I also need to put gym time. Where can I put gym time? So from the ideal schedule to my real calendar, I'll plug in gym time. So like, don't try to flip your whole schedule around saying like, this is my ideal schedule and I'm going to totally follow everything on this. No, take it one thing at a time. And that's why I tell you to like create that ideal schedule as a separate calendar and then just pick off of it and add it to your real calendar bit by bit until you can really build that routine.
I like that idea because having it separate from the reality also makes you more balanced where you're not beating yourself up for not following it.
Yep.
Because I will say that because, like I said, I color block everything in my calendar is color coded. So I can look and tell you exactly where am I spending my time. I can tell when I can almost forecast when money might dip, but based on my calendar, because I have money making activities color coded on my calendar. I have certain calls color coded. I have these calls. I have things that, you know, my daughter has to do color coded. I have my gym time color coded, doctor's appointments. So I know literally just looking at a calendar within a glance where my brain is that week.
Yep.
But I do build in like the gym time, and there's some of it that's absolutely not negotiable because I'm the one teaching the class. So I have to be there. Yes. But then there's other times where it's like, if there's something that's going to go first, it's going to be that. You know, and then I might have periods where it's like, dang, like for 3 weeks, I've skipped this workout because I was doing something else. So when I find that happens a couple of times, I'll delete that whole section of my calendar.
Yes.
Because again, with life being the way it is in the summer compared to anything else, the gym workouts that I can absolutely make during the rest of the year are not the gym workouts that I can make easily during the summer because everything flips. Yep. And so I used to be really hard on myself for not adamantly sticking to it. And, you know, so I like the idea of having it separate and kind of working it in. I think the advantage that I have based on the timing of this conversation is that my calendar has been kind of a certain way for years to where I've put boundaries in it. It's just a matter during that period where everything's open that everything falls apart. But like, you know, Fridays have been blocked in my calendar for years. Yep. I don't typically allow any appointments before 10 a.m. unless I manually decided to put it there.
Yes.
I don't do a whole lot of appointments past a certain time unless I've decided to put it there, mainly because I have almost 6 years of history that when I've deviated from that, something went wrong. Yeah. You know, my brain apparently does not work well. Yeah. Or at least not for business before 10 a.m. And after that, my focus is going to start to shift to more family things because my husband's home, all of us are home. I'm automatically going to be distracted, not because they don't respect the fact that I'm working, but it's just life. They might ask a question or something. And yes, I'm in my own office, but the second I might hear something, it's like, no, wait a minute, let me get up and let me get up and fix this before you guys, mess it up.
Oh, I'm totally the same way. That's why I end my day at 3, because by that time too, the kiddo and the hubby are already in the living room doing whatever they're doing. And it's not necessarily that they need me. It's more of the emotional thing that I want to be around them now. I'm done. I want to hang out with them. Right. So when I start hearing their voices, I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. I want to go hang out with my family.
Well, it's almost like when you hear them laughing and stuff, laughing and joking, and it's like,
yeah, what am I missing?
Not y'all having fun down the hall,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think even your season, you talk about with your schedule in the summer, I know people say this saying, in which sometimes I cringe a little when people do say it. They say oh, stop being in survival mode and we want to be thriving, not surviving. And I'm like, but also the reality of life is, yes, we are surviving, but understanding it's not life itself that we're surviving. It's the season, So again, everyone, I really always want to put it out there. I probably sound like a broken record, but you're not failing. It's just a season. It's just a week. It's just a day. It's just a month. It's just, it's just life temporarily.
Yeah. One of my friends had texted right before we got on the live just to kind of check in with a few of us. And we have our little thread. And she was talking about how life has definitely been lifing. I was like, yes, for a couple of years now. She was like, how are you? I was like, just putting little fires out everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
But that's just kind of how it is this time of year. And I always get asked when I talk about what my schedule looks like, the first thing people say is, I don't know how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the normal. And it doesn't mean that I don't set boundaries, because, my husband can tell you, my family can tell you, my friends can definitely tell you, I have no problem telling people no.
Yep.
If it's not something that I can do, if I physically can't be there, then I can't be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've missed, I'll miss important things in somebody else's life. And I hate that I couldn't make it, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it if I already had another priority set.
Yeah.
My friends, my people in class, everybody knows that this time of year is crazy. So if I'm not at the gym teaching class, the first thing is oh, swim meet. Yes, exactly. So there is no guilt there, but it's still different when it's if I don't like something, I'm also very clear at saying no to that too. My husband asked me something and I was like, well, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, I'll take care of it because you're not able to, but I just want to at least say out loud, I don't want to do this at all.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's and again, that's part of time management too, is really, yes, understanding your boundaries and the people that are surrounding and understanding that as well. Right. Yeah. So you saying no, for me, as I grew older too, I was really appreciating the friendships. I was telling other people, I have this friend, I actually have 2 friends that are local to me, and we only see each other and talk to each other. We don't even text to check in with each other. 2 times out of the year, we'll meet each other in person. We'll talk for a good 4 or 5 hours straight at a coffee shop or at a restaurant. And then we're like, okay, see ya, bye. I know you're up leveling, and we'll chat. And every now and then we'll think of each other and we'll say, hey, just checking in. How are you? Good. Cool. Okay. I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
And those are the very people, if I could say no, they're not thinking any kind of ways, because they understand life is busy. They get it. Even if it is an important time in their life too, for me to be there, but they get it. So I can really appreciate those people around me where they get it. And so those are the ones who I really keep close, because that is what is going to really fill my cup and support me in the long run. Right.
So, you saying this, and then both of us having, how many people do you have on your team right now?
10.
Okay. So I think I'm at 8, and it's as small as it's been for a very long time. And
same.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, same.
That's a good number.
Yes, to give people an idea, I usually have 15 to 25 people on my team, but for the last good, I would say year, it has been 15, 10 people, and I'm totally okay with that. And again, because life and business has dramatically changed the last couple of years.
Yes. Tracy, I'm sorry about the technology. I see that you switched from LinkedIn to Facebook. So I get it. Like I said, I can't even blame tech. It was just me. I hit the button. And so I'm my own technical issue today, but I'm glad you're able to rejoin us. I think that when we talk about time management, a lot of times we tend to look inward about our own time. but for any business owner that has a team of people, especially contractors, you have to look at it twofold. And so it took a while for me to put in place that, understanding other people have time as well, but creating that culture and environment on your team where they can also set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I have people on my team that are in school. And I've jokingly asked us, like, are you leaving me? They're like, no, I just want to have another thing, another skill. And so, but they're like, but because of school, I'm not available on Mondays. So we've kind of set it where any client that works with them, they understand that boundary as well.
Yeah.
This person's going to take amazing care of you Tuesday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday,
Yep.
just not on Mondays. But the good news is, because unlike you guys, we're not doing administrative work. We're not doing work that really requires us to talk to our clients every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an intentional thing. We stopped offering that service because I wanted to be able to honor people's boundaries. And I just find that with EA work and administrative work, it's not as easy to tell somebody, oh, I'm not available because it's Monday, And so, but we have team members from all over the world. They have different religions, different cultures. And so being able to allow them to have that boundary of, during this time of year, we celebrate, Ramadan, and we're observing this. And so we're not available for a week and a half or 2 weeks. And so, I've met people that are like, you didn't push back. I'm like, what am I going to push back on? I'm not pushing back on somebody's beliefs or their faith.
Yep.
If that's important to you and that's your boundary, then that's your boundary.
Yeah.
So we plan. You've let me know a month or two in advance that this is coming up. By now, I kind of put it in my calendar, so I know it's coming anyway. But we can let the clients know. We can make sure that you've finalized any projects that you have before you're out, so that you fully can be gone and be off. But I guess I just wanted to note that while we're talking about time management, if you have a team, it is not just your time that needs to be managed and have a strategy around. You need to have that same type of conversation with your team, because that way you're not caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
They're not caught off guard, and your clients aren't caught off guard. So for any agency owner that might be listening to this conversation, time management strategies are actually a 3-part thing for any of you, because you're now factoring in how it affects you, your clients, and your team.
Absolutely. And I think, again, it goes back down to communications and expectations, right? So communicating with the team, like, we have office hours, and yes, they're contractors. No one on my team is an employee, but I make it very clear the people I'm looking for my team is available during the office hours I have set. And that is clear communication to my team and to my clients. Like, there has to be a level of structure, whether you're an employee or you're a contractor on a team. And then, yes, as far as communication, we definitely tell our clients, like, we're working asynchronously with them, but also, again, we're in active communication mode within our office hours.
Correct.
And I always let clients know, like, hey, if a ninja is going to communicate with you before office hours and after office hours, think of that as bonus time, that they've given their heart and soul to you, that because something needed to be done, and they're willing to give you their time to you. So really appreciate, be grateful for it.
Yeah.
But then, with that being said, as far as, like, I do think about the team, and I said, you don't never ever have to ask permission to take time off. Like, I have team members, like, they're going to Disney World and they're taking a full week, 2 weeks off. And just like you said, like, planning ahead and making sure that the client's taken care of, and we have backups because of that too. So if a person went back to school and wasn't available Mondays, great. Who's the person on the team who can support that client on Mondays when you are out? Right. So it is definitely doable, but yes, I totally understand where you have removed that as far as service, because like, a lot of people can't manage, like, that communication time, and that's totally okay. And again, there's no right or wrong way of doing things. Like, the team will have their boundaries, the client will have their boundaries, and say, no, I do need someone to communicate with every single day. Cool. That's who they're looking for. And I think as a business owner or entrepreneur, like, really, you can hold space for everyone and explain to everyone you're still running a business.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think the other thing, when it comes to the team client side of it, is, at least for us, we cut down on meetings.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the reason why we implemented certain systems, so that we could communicate with our client without it having to be a formal meeting, whether it's having a Slack or now Chanty channel, or using Loom videos just to provide updates, or having them having access to ClickUp to where they can go and see what's been done. All those things were intentionally there because at one point we met with every client, sometimes twice a week.
Oh, yeah. Too much.
And I mean, for those of you who don't know, I'm actually not a huge fan of meetings. I mean, I'm a huge fan of getting things done, but if I can get what I need and it not have to be a load of meetings, we can do the one meeting, but I'm going to ask a lot of questions because I don't want to keep having them. So,
Exactly.
I had to create a different culture where we weren't so burnt out from the meetings that we didn't
You're
want to
draining.
work, you know.
And
Not all clients are sunshine and rainbows. And so it was just like such a mental drain that we still didn't get the work done as quickly because now we had to recover. And so we put things in place to cut down on the need for so many meetings because I'm like, did we actually do any work during this meeting or did we just talk to the client?
Yeah. And people tend to go on tangents in meetings as well, which, is understandable because you are creating a connection with your client or the service provider. But this is a perfect example. I had an executive said like, hey, I want an EA. I want to meet with them every day for 20 minutes of like, what's top priority, what's done, what's being worked on. And I had to push back. And I say this with love, sir, is no, that's not going to happen. and these are the reasons. And you guys can implement this in your business as well. And even being considerate of both team and clients is it doesn't work. Like everyone needs focus time. Everyone needs execution time. So if you're stuck in meetings all day, and this is both for team and clients. So you as an entrepreneur, if you're always wanting meetings with your team, guess what? Not only is your team not going to have any time to do the work that within a certain time frame that they have available during the day, you as the CEO as well won't have time because you decided you want more meetings on your calendar for whatever, I don't know, to be handholded or cuddled. I don't know. Sure. I'm going to be very blunt with that because I still don't understand why people want more meetings on the calendars. But, and the other part of that too, I said to the client is that it is energetically draining for them and their team member. And the whole goal of hiring us is to save them time. I said, you have better things to do than have a 20-minute huddle every single day with your ninja. And I said, if you do want priorities and updates, at least then be at top of the week, for a good 20, 30 minutes. It doesn't need to be an hour. Maybe in the beginning phases of working with a client, it could be an hour because you're still getting to know like all the things. But by the end of 30 days, it should be really quick 20, 30-minute meetings, if not 15 is my most ideal. Yeah. But everything else as far as priority updates, that could all be done via Voxer or ClickUp or like whatever project management platform you're using. And even Slack now has the audio feature. Like it could be all dumped in there. If anything, maybe a daily update via email, like that says like end of day, here's the things that happen. So you can be in the know, but eventually team and client side, that trust is going to be built. So eventually that's not going to even be needed. Right. And I know this again by 8 years in business and 20 plus years of experience as being any type of administrative EA, administrative legal assistant. I've been doing all the things. And it's really just comes down to, like I said, communications, expectations, and trust. Like once the trust is there.
Yeah, any client that I've had, or even when I worked as an employee, any place I ever worked that wanted to talk and meet every day, it was a trust thing.
Yeah.
Either they had been burned or they were afraid of being burned and they felt that having to like literally lay eyeballs on you for 20 minutes a day, sometimes longer, was the best way to go about it. Yeah. And in all of the situations, I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
This actually is working against you because I so dread coming to these meetings because nothing's getting done. Like it was like, and then we'd have a meeting and then they're like, well, okay, well, we can talk about it more in our meeting tomorrow. I was like, so wait a minute, we're going to have a meeting to talk about this meeting while we're scheduling the next meeting to talk about a meeting. How is this valuable time, like time usage? And Incorporated's absolutely like just rampant about having a meeting of a meeting and having a spinoff meeting that happens the next meeting. And it's like, I think eventually I even said, hey, let me guess, we're going to have a meeting about it because I took notes. We've had 5 meetings and still not actually resolved the topic that we've been meeting about. And so I'm like, how is this working? And to your point, Tracy, you're right but the challenge for us now in the online space is you have people that are used to that old way of working, moving into entrepreneurship, and then they come in as a client and they're expecting that same thing because that's what they got used to.
Yes.
It's the
Yep.
double they know. Even if they don't like it, it's what they know, and it's what they attach to being successful and a good operations, or a good, a good operative running business. And it's like, in this day and age, no,
Yeah.
absolutely no. That is the opposite of time management.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about time management in meetings, because that definitely a time killer, right? So one of my biggest things, how we can really get there, like I had said, like, is the trust thing, right? And if you are in a rhythm of being able to communicate in other forms without having to be a meeting, that's definitely like huge bonus and time saver. But if a person did need to jump in a meeting, and again, I think for my industry specifically, for VAs and EAs, you really truly have to have a heart of service to have the patience for that. And sometimes it is needed. So you just need to understand, are you okay with that? And is it doable? Do you have a timeline of like, hey, great, I will join these meetings with you every single day, but by the 30-day mark, this should be less and less and less. You should have trusted me by now, etc. But in meetings, what I've learned was basically IDS it. I think it comes from like the book Traction. So I'll credit them for that, is state the issue, discuss it, and figure out the solution, right? So that way it doesn't, you guys don't stray away from a different topic and go on a tangent. And people tend to, I'm sometimes guilty for this, I'll provide so much context that I end up confusing the team member more than it should. So I will always try to be mindful of like, here's what I need from you. This is the information that you need from me. And this is the desired outcome I want. Do you have any questions? Right. And then we'll just go. And if I do catch myself, again, I think I'm very self-aware. So I know when I'm going on a tangent, and I'll kind of like reset myself and be like, okay, no, next topic. We've talked about this long enough. Right. Yeah. And I train my team. And so if you do have team members who go, or clients who do, go on a tangent, I think there's the other piece of art of communication and time management is learning how to kindly and lovingly interrupt them and be like, okay, next topic.
For the longest time, I used to sit in on every client meeting.
Yeah.
Until I had a client say, it makes me nervous that you sit in on all the meetings because either you don't trust your team, or there was another half of it, but they only had to say it once. It's like, say less, I'm stepping out because I don't want to be here anyway. Yeah. Especially because I tended to be the wrangler. And I'm like, this isn't helping the team learn to step up and be their own wrangler with clients. If I'm the one saying, okay, we've had 10 minutes on this topic, we don't need to keep going in circles, let's move on. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that I push with my team, since I'm not sitting on all the meetings, we record everything. So if there's ever any type of communication issue or confusion, I can go back and look to see what was said and how it was said. And we can kind of use that for training and things like that. But having an agenda,
yes,
before the meeting, and sending it to the client before the meeting. So that way they understand how long this meeting is going to be, what we're going to talk about, what's potentially needed for them to bring to the meeting so that they're prepared, has helped cut down on meeting time. It's helped cut down on confusion. It's helped cut down on all of that drastically. But then it's also a source of documentation if and when there's ever any miscommunication or confusion or anything like that. But the agenda has been really important. And then we typically set the cadence, and I say it up front, it's in the statement of work. We meet biweekly. You're going to have an onboarding meeting. You're going to have a planning meeting. But again, we do systems and automation and tech. So we don't typically need to meet with you all the time. Yes. We're going to make sure that we're on the same page in that planning meeting. And then we're going to talk to you in 2 weeks, because we have tools that you have where if you need to touch base in between or vice versa, we can do that. But what I look out for is that client that in between that 2 weeks says, oh, hey, can we hop on a call? And then I'm going to step in and say, because I see all the communication, well, what's the call about? Is it with me or is it the team? And if it's with all of us, I really need to know what we're talking about, because sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh, this is like an important thing. And it's important, but it didn't necessarily require the whole team. Right. Like this whole lifing thing affects our clients as well. And I've had clients that had personal things come up. I've had clients who were coming into us burnout and they're overwhelmed, not because the team isn't doing what they're supposed to do. the client wasn't mentally prepared to have new humans asking them for things and asking
Mm-hmm.
feedback. So when I see those types of things, I do take care to manage our team's time and also their sanity. And I'm like, hey, let's you and I step to the side and have this conversation.
Yeah.
Because we're very results driven. So I want to make sure that I'm doing what I can to support the team to keep going so that we can get you the results you need in the time that we promised you for the money that you paid for it. And then I will take care of our small counseling session over here long enough so that you can kind of get back into it. But, you know, that agenda has been a very important addition that we put in last year, because otherwise I was seeing, when I would look at timesheets, meetings lasting 2 hours, I'm like, what the hell were you talking about?
Ooh.
You know, oh, well, then once we started, I mentioned this, and then they were like, oh, well, maybe we could do this, we could do this. And I'm like, so not only did you scope creep yourself, I don't even know that why the client stayed on this call with you, because you both squirreled one another for 2 hours
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for a meeting that was set for 30 minutes. And so having the agenda has helped cut back on those types of situations.
Yeah. Well, I want to touch on the one comment that we got there: self-regulation and redirection are important skills for time management. And something to really think about, as far if you do have a team, is sometimes our team have, like, again, like, heart of service. There's sometimes to be a little bit too nice. And that is when us CEOs, founders, you know, business owners do need to step in. And it's not because the team member is wrong to do so. It's because if they did know how, if they were like the best leader, well, they would be running their own business, not working with you, right? So, but yes, there is a level of, like, the team being self-aware, emotionally intelligent, and, you know, like, again, self-regulating themselves too, to be able to, you know, save themselves time and the client's time. But sometimes people are just way too freaking nice, and also you have to think about not just them being beautiful humans and nice humans, kind humans, but they're also really caring to think about you and your company as well. Like, so I hear it from my own team saying, like, oh, I wasn't sure if that was right to say, because I don't want them to, like, feel like I offended them, and then they leave, and then you lose the client. And I'm like, don't worry about me losing the client, because if the client ends up having an issue, then I'll talk to them. But like, you are more than okay to, like, let them know kindly, of course, and professionally, of course, to let them know, like, hey, this is what they're doing wrong, or what have you, right?
That is not the takeaway. That is not the takeaway.
Can we screenshot that? I'll post that on my story, and I'll give you credit for that one.
That is hilarious.
I would say, like, you could. There's definitely, as a leader and a business owner, you could have both. I was just having the same conversation actually with a bunch of entrepreneurs I just had breakfast with this morning, and I said, like, you can definitely be transparent and blunt with your team. Like, sometimes, like, when I'm talking to my team and I'm disappointed about something, or I'm saying, like, hey, you guys, we were totally off this week. Like, it, like, shit, like, just went off the rails. And to me, I'm, like, partly worried. I'm like, oh shit, did I just sound, like, really bitchy and just, like, you know, unprofessional? But I realized, no, I did act professionally. I did state very clearly of how I felt in the most kind and professional way. But no one didn't feel any kind of ways, because you know what? Because them knowing me and them building the trust with me and me building the trust with them, they knew that I was exuding love and respect of having this conversation with them. It's a difficult conversation, but it does not mean it's disrespectful. Ooh, that's
I got you. In the time that I think twice now, I've had to have meetings. I mean, I've had times where it's like, hey, we definitely could have done this part better. And even if I know specifically the one person who might have done it, I still say we, because the potential is there for somebody else to make the same mistake. Absolutely. And so I tend to address it with the team. I'll address the person individually, but I address the topic with the team, just so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
But there's been a couple of times where I've had to say, so listen here, you know, I love and adore every last one of you, but the fact of the matter is, you need to get your shit together. Mm-hmm. Because, like, we're, yes, this is my name on the business, but your face is also on the website. We're in this together.
Yes.
So if
one fails, we all fail. If one wins, we all win.
Yeah, I'm like, in life, I get it happens. So if you are in a season where you can't focus and you can't deliver on the promise, wave the flag and say so. Yes. I'm not ever going to be upset because you needed to take a break. Mm-hmm. I would rather you tell me that and I pull somebody else in, or should I do it myself? Yeah. Versus a client saying, you guys dropped the ball. That for me is like absolute no. And it's not because I expect perfection. I expect people to be upfront. If
Yes.
you say, hey, I thought I could handle this project, but I am drowning. Can we pull in another team member? Or can you take me off of it and get somebody else? I want to know before it becomes a surprise because I heard it from the client. So there's been a few times, and it's because everybody's energy is going to ebb and flow. And then, of course, we did have like, pandemic and stuff. So I had to factor all that in, but that still meant that I had to firmly say, like, listen, if we all want to still be here, because I have to tell myself to get my shit together. It's just all there is to it. But I'm blunt with my clients as well. And on the topic of being too nice, I've had that on my team. Some of it sometimes is cultural. Some of it I've had team members say, well, it's because it's your company and I don't want to mess up your company.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd like to think that you wouldn't be the thing that has this whole thing toppled, but
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that easy. But what I've done was I tried to find a way to balance their niceness with not giving away the business.
Yeah.
And so what I started working on them saying is, because what would happen is, say we're setting up a CRM, and then in it, they have a conversation where that CRM can link to something else, but we didn't put that in the statement of work. And that something else is not going to be 15, 20 minutes. It's now going to be hours. What was happening was the team member was like, oh yeah, we can do that. And that's true. We can do it. It's just, they didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't care that you said we can do it. You just didn't finish the sentence. What you need to say is, absolutely, we can take care of that for you. I'm going to have Tanisha reach out to you to talk about pricing.
Yes.
I said, because that add-on covers you, it covers us. And it means that we're being honorable to the inside operations of our business. But it also calls out if the person was going to really try to scope creep you, because if they tell you, oh, no, it's not that important, then it was something that they were trying to take advantage of anyway, And so that helped them, where they didn't feel the pressure of, I know we can do it, but do I stop and ask Tanisha during the call? Do I stop and do this? What do I say? And so that just became the statement of, we absolutely can take care of that for you. Let me have Tanisha reach out to you to talk about pricing.
Yeah. And then going back to what you had said too, as far as, them asking for help when like life happens or they really reach their capacity and they didn't realize it, I would say that is where I would think someone failed, is because you didn't communicate it, like honoring the fact that like you just reached your capacity or life happened. And I always like let team know, like, yes, you need to communicate before it happens, before a client finds out. And that way we can cover everyone. Like the client will feel supported, you'll feel supported, the team will feel supported. And I say, like, you taking a day off, mental break, life happening would probably like be the least of your worries. Like I wouldn't get mad. The client shouldn't get mad, because I would hope that I brought in an amazing client that understood those same values of, as far as family is more important than anything like else surrounding business. And then also the fact that, like, worst case, like if you couldn't communicate that and you didn't communicate with me or the team or the client, just that communication alone would risk losing the client. And then you have bigger problems. Now you don't have a client to work with, right? So definitely, like that applies to time management as well, because again, like the sooner that you can relay that information to, whoever is in charge, we can make those changes as soon as possible so that everyone feels supported and feel good at the end of the day. Right.
And also people don't feel their time is wasted. You knew that you didn't want to do that meeting before the day and 10 minutes before the meeting happened. You knew that life was life, and you knew that you were distracted. You knew long enough time to give that person the courtesy of saying, hey, I know we're supposed to meet this week. Unfortunately, I'm going to need to reschedule. Now, it's up to you to see how far that relationship goes, to see how far you go into it. But people understand that stuff happens. And again, give them the option of either being okay to reschedule for the next week, or for them to be able to say, hey, I understand you need to take some time off. That's fine. But because you guys are a team, can somebody else step in?
Yes.
Because I'm on a deadline. But give people the opportunity to help decide what works for them as well as for you. And so, because I think even though we're talking about time management, part of that is not wasting people's time.
Yes.
And in our businesses, that is kryptonite. So, like absolute kryptonite. Because, both of us function in the idea of being able to create more efficiency and save people time. So for us to not communicate well and then waste their time, and they're paying us to do it, is absolutely the thing that could take us out. So speaking of time, we have gone for a while now. I mean, the first 10 minutes don't really count because we hit the button too early, but I do want to be mindful of your time. And I guess wrapping things up.
Oh, let's be real. You and I could talk forever.
Oh no, that's the thing. I don't want to do like this chick's over here talking about time management. They talk for 2.5 hours. They have somewhere to be.
We hope you guys enjoyed.
I just wanted to put it out there, but I guess, so we've talked about where you could potentially use some tools. We've talked about how you can use the humans that you have to support you personally and in your team. We've talked about how it's not just your time, especially if you run an agency or have a staff or anything like that, but it's factoring their time, your client's time, and kind of the ebb and flow and intertwining of that. Did we miss something?
Yeah, I highly recommend checking doing your ideal schedule, and then the Eisenhower matrix table. So if you are the to-do list type, and really understanding like what takes priority, Eisenhower matrix is going to do you real good, because then you can really focus on the things that actually do matter, and it'll be subconsciously like less stress for you.
Please put that link in the comments of one of the.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might use it myself. I remember somebody had like years ago, somebody had mentioned a tool, well, not a tool, but like a process. I don't know if it was like an ABC method, something along that lines, where it was like A were the things that had to be taken care of now, or something was going to burn, crash, and, it was the must-haves. B was like the things that are important, but if they don't get done today, it's not going to be the end of the world. But kind of like as you work through that A list, you're going to probably shift some of the B's over there. They're going to start.
Yes, it's basically similar to that. Yeah, exactly.
And then C was like things that maybe were just ideas that didn't have to take place even in the next month or so. And then D, I might be stretching it. It was either ABC or maybe there was a D, but it was like in a wish list almost. Like
that if you had extra time, you can pluck out of it anytime.
Yes.
Yep.
And I used that for a while. And it was good when I first started. I'll be honest, I used it more when I was by myself and truly solo. And then when I got the team, I shifted my focus more to them versus that. So I had to kind of come up with a different process, but it was helpful when I was just managing my own time.
Yeah. And I know like pen and paper is really nice, just because subconsciously, like for me anyways, like if I do write a pen to paper, I will remember things a little bit more easier throughout the day, especially if it's time sensitive. But ClickUp, like, or any project management platform, I like to brain dump on there too, because as I go through my list on a day-to-day, like I will always revisit it of like, again, through the Eisenhower matrix type of strategy. And then I can easily change the assignee and be like, oh, nope, I realize like this has been on my list for the last 3 days. Time for me to give it up and pass it on to somebody before any time goes on, right? So it's easier in that type of like efficiency. Again, it'll help you save time a lot for having to retype notes and then trying to delegate to a team member. So definitely due dates is definitely also your best friend. So even if you're using a project management platform, even if it's something that doesn't need to be done 3 months down the road, still put a due date 3 months down the road. So that way it can trigger you.
Due dates are definitely important. Notifications are a lifesaver for me, but I actually double notifications for probably everything, because if it's not a meeting, it's one of those things where I need 2, sometimes 3 notifications, because if I'm in the middle of something when the notification happens, I'm going to forget that I even got the notification.
Yeah.
Like the other one. And so I'm playing with ClickUp to tie it more tightly into my calendar. So that, because I know me, I'm going to look at my calendar. I'm not going to look at anything else. So I need to be realistic to that and just put all the things on the calendar. But ClickUp is great as far as kind of showing you where your time is. It's good. You can manage bills and things like that, and bills and due dates, and you can do that in your calendar too. But you have, in this day and age, there's probably more options than there are even use cases when it comes to ways to manage your time. It's just a matter of picking the one that doesn't overwhelm you and the one that your brain actually like looks at and it's like, oh, this is helpful versus this is another thing that is going to soak up my time while I try to figure out how to use it.
I'm the same with you. I live and die through my Google Calendar. If I do have to go into like ClickUp, again, there's a block there that says check ClickUp.
I need to add that block because sometimes,
Yeah.
oh, and I open it and everything's red. I'm like, yeah.
Well, ClickUp has the snooze button now too. So,
Yeah, I'm used to it. So, well, again, thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to share? Is there anything you want people to check out and visit?
Yeah, well, the playground I usually play in is Instagram, and you can find me at Rachel Everington. So there's a mix of everything: business, coaching, fun things, life. Like you'll get, I do dance now. I don't know if you and I have caught up enough where like
I've seen
yeah. So I love just talking about a lot of things, and really at the end of the day, my ultimate goal is just everyone to live their lives and feel good and feel joy and feel happiness that they're doing okay, both business and life. Everyone's on the same boat. We're just doing it differently, right? So yeah.
Thank you very much. And as always, you guys can find me pretty much everywhere but X. You know, I always put it in categories. Instagram and LinkedIn are probably going to be the most business focused. TikTok is a mixture of business and just antics.
Yeah.
And then Facebook's probably heavier on the antics and a little bit of business sprinkled in. So depending on what you're looking for, you can find a little bit of all of it. But of course, you can find these episodes and replays and clips on our YouTube channel at Work with SVS. So if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. And, if you have any questions or catch us on the replay, just put #replay and Rachel or I will answer any of your questions. Make sure to put that grid method in there because I'm pretty sure. The foolishness on TikTok is heavy. Like I want to say that in between some clips of these interviews is where I have the video that my security camera caught of me almost burning the house down.
Oh no.
So it's a mixture. You got some options, a little bit of everything for everyone. I think we have in between some other clips of these calls, us terrifying, our child and her friend and playing pranks. So
that one.
So it's a little bit of business and a little bit of parenting tips. All the time. So, well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thursday, and I'm so glad we got to catch up. And I'm glad I looked at the timer because we absolutely probably could have rocked a good 2 hours on this. But, so.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us.
This is, as I said at the beginning, this is our last episode for this season, not the last episode ever. I'm going to take a little bit of a break because life is life and it's life out on this during this summer. And so we will resume Entrepreneurs Unplugged with some new guests and potentially some return guests starting in September. So see everyone. Thank you guys for joining.